Oh, hello, good morning. Bon dia, alegria from me, Carl Munson from Expats, Portugal.com, here on the Good Morning Portugal show, where you will see to my right, well, actually to your right, to my left, the Doc. Doc, how are you?
Bon dia, alegria, deliria, Carl. How are you doing? I'm fine.
You always have to take it a stage further, don't you? Good morning to you. Great to see you. It is Hump Day, Francis. Yes, we do say that. That was a new one to me. There are a couple of Americanisms that I find intriguing, and I'm sure the Doc does too, as a cunning linguist, as such as he is. There is doing a solid, which I love. I love that expression, and I like to use it wherever possible now, because it doesn't. I mean, as a doctor, doing a solid would mean something entirely different. But doing a solid for Americans is like doing a good favor or a good turn to somebody, right? And Happy Hump Day, of course, could be interpreted in all sorts of ways, but it's the hump of the week, Wednesday. And on Good Morning Portugal, it's the day where we ask anything or invite you to ask anything at all about Portugal. And our special guest, who I would like to reintroduce, actually, because some people consider this, Doc. Some people don't know who you are. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Shock horror pro.
Could you do us a little pen portrait? Not in doctor's handwriting, obviously, because we wouldn't be able to read that. But just, tell us about yourself and your background, and on what basis you're here to talk about Portugal and things medical.
Sure. Okay. So I was a GP. That's a family doctor. For those of you who don't have general practitioners, in the UK, in Birmingham. And I was a GP with my own practice. I was also a coroner, trained in law, and a trade union rep and a political activist. So that was me. I was doing far too much. It wrecked my second marriage, having wrecked my first, but I hadn't learned the first time round. And then it gave me a stroke. So I had a huge brain hemorrhage over 5 years ago now, when I was 50. And so tried to struggle on, but couldn't. So took early retirement, took my pension, which is quite a reasonable pension. Haven't gone bankrupt because I wasn't properly insured. So I lost all my assets at the time, but they left my pension alone. And so I retired to what was always going to be my ultimate retirement destination, but I retired here 10 years early. Managed to escape the Brexit catastrophe. Got my residency here 3 years ago in Coimbra, but I was popping backwards and forwards. And sorry about the lighting. It's going to vary a bit as the sun goes in and out behind clouds. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I was going backwards and forwards up until COVID. And about 5-6 months before COVID, I met my current partner. And when I told her I was going to escape for good before Brexit took effect, we managed to, she said, right, I'm coming with you. And she took retirement well. And we managed to get out of Britain before the Brexit, properly before the Brexit window shut. So Leona also managed to get residency, and as did her daughter. So we're here. We didn't stay in Coimbra because we needed to look at educational possibilities. So we looked around for English medium schools. Had to be private because there are none public, obviously, but Alicia's 15 now, and it's not the right time to start trying to learn how to absorb education in a new language when you're about to take some important decisions in your education. Good point. She goes to a very good and not too expensive international school in Marina Grande, and we live in the beautiful town with a fantastic castle. I don't think I've mentioned before, that is Leiria.
Oh yeah, you kept that quiet. And I tell you what, Doc, I'm exhausted hearing all of that. And what a busy bloke you've been. I mean, it's incredible. What a life. I think of you as a busy guy now, and presumably that is you're a shade of your former self with all that you've just detailed there.
My daughter suggested that we should watch Money Heist, and she told us this about a week ago. So when I told her that I was desperate because we reached the end of all 5 series in a week, and she said, "What? I still haven't seen the last series." I said, "I won't spoil it for you." And the fact there's a new series in December as well. There we go.
Incredible. So you do like to burn it at both ends and a little bit in the middle still, right? That's your personality by the sound of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. Okay, let's say hello to a few people this morning. I'm glad I asked because there are a few things in there I didn't know, and I'm sure I'll continue to be amazed by you as our conversations continue here on the second and the fourth Wednesdays of each month that the Doc is here. Soon, I mean, sorry, Doc, to be rubbing it in. I did ask you yesterday, didn't I, if you'd like a Good Morning Portugal mug so that we can both be doing it. They're on their way, sir. They're on their way to you, right? Okay, so Andrea's here. First in this morning with a bon dia. Good morning from the Netherlands and a fellow Nederlander, although originally German, I believe. Bon dia, alegria. Uma quarta-feira maravilhosa de uma relva nublada. So cloudy nublada. And actually, a cloudy relva, not the cloudy nublada. Nublada is the word for cloudy. And we have the picture from the balcony. We're going to have a few of these, I think. That's from Matty. There it is. That's exactly what he's talking about. That's the picture from the balcony. And I think he's having a great time in Portugal. He got his NIF in 20 minutes, Doc. Shock horror, right?
Yeah, so that's pretty good. I mean, I don't think mine took much longer, but then I did have my Portuguese landlord with me at the time in the citizen shop in Coimbra.
Yes, ready to bang on the desk if necessary. It's always good to take a Portuguese bird. Where's my fly swat?
Actually, no, I remember Leona and Alicia both got theirs within about 10 minutes and without an appointment, which was fantastic. So it was in the middle of Leiria at the citizen shop during lockdown. They had their appointments for their residency document. This is last year, so we still got the EU residency document. And we happened to mention that we were waiting for an appointment for their NIFs. And he said, "Hold on a minute," disappeared off around the corner, and then shepherded us through to the area where the whatever it is, the finance authority were up and running. And they did it there and then. It was superb.
Excellent. Okay, you went VIP.
About the IMT though.
Yes, that's the other end of the spectrum, isn't it? In terms of, have you still got ongoing business with IMT, or is it all sorted now?
That's what we used to call the shitty end of the stick. But we still have have business with the IMT.
It's not what IMT stands for. There's no S in that abbreviation, is there? But okay, well, good luck with that. I hope that's resolved soon. You're not the only one, if that's any consolation, which it probably isn't. Yes, Hump Day, here we are. Ask anything about Portugal. Actually, I think we've got a nifty little ticker tape for that. Well, there we go. A bit of a visual interest on the screen. As you can see, I haven't bothered to put the green screen up again. We're on the move. I'm unplugged. That's what I'm going to go with. But I just think it does look a little bit like a hostage video, doesn't it, when it's like this? Normal service will be resumed fairly soon. Okay, bon dia from Stephen. Hello, Stephen and Jim, and Hank's here as well. Brother Hank is in the house too. Comrade Hank. As an American, I know the term Hump Day. There you go. And what is I mean, I guess that's fairly serious and visual, isn't it? The hump of the week, getting over it, getting to Thursday, getting to Friday, and then it goes around again, and whatever you call Monday, probably a day. But doing someone a solid, if any Americans could, or any other suggestions for funny old idioms and linguistic idiosyncrasies, do let us know. But what is the derivation of? And I know as soon as I ask a question like this, Doc will be looking it up out of screen. This is how busy the guy is. He is a multitasker of great repute, and he'll come up with an answer very soon. But let's let someone else do that this morning, Doc. Doing a solid, okay? Don't look it up in a medical dictionary. Bon dia, good morning, all from Tom. Good morning. Have we opened the bowels this morning? Why do doctors ask that? Have we opened the bowels this morning? Why do they say it like that? It is what you guys say on a ward round, isn't it?
Well, there are certain times when you need to be sure that someone has opened their bowels before they can go home. So that's important. But I think it's just some doctors, and that doesn't include me, have difficult interpersonal relationships, and that's their opening gambit. So it's a bit like, do you come here often?
If you're a doctor, fantastic. Good morning, Elra, as well in Finland. My mother-in-law. Oh, this is great. Who doesn't love a comment that starts with my mother-in-law? Test pilot in a broom factory? Oh, no, hold on. Not the typical will be moving with us. Quite the opposite then. She's an EU citizen from Poland. How would she go about getting medical with a heart condition that's under control? And are there age limits? Well, that's a very straightforward answer, isn't it?
She doesn't need a medical as an EU citizen. She just moves.
She just moves, and she's entitled to care here in Portugal. That's great.
Well, every resident is entitled to care, but the point is that she'll find it much easier as an EU citizen, and presumably she sounds like she's probably retired, and therefore, if she is retired and she gets therefore a state pension, however small that is, might be from Poland. The process is very easy. It's just a question of going to register that fact at the local social security office. But no, you don't need any kind of medical or any kind of visa if you are an EU citizen.
That might actually be medical care, but I mean it's the same
answer.
Oh well,
medical care, yeah. You go to you until you get to Social Security to register the pension. Presumably she can get an EHIC in Poland, and she can use that in the meantime to go to the local health centre and get her care there.
There you go. Excellent. It's part of the civilized nature of the European Union, isn't it? Of which Great Britain, United Kingdom, is hoping to surpass in its own special way. How was that for a Brexit reframe?
I don't know what the UK is going to surpass Europe in, except perhaps the ability to create multi-sector shortages in a very short time.
Okay, there you go. And I'm thinking maybe that's probably the end of the mentioning of Brexit during this conversation. But how I somehow suspect it might not be. And we may even talk about the little bit of the U-turn. Well, a broken manifesto promise yesterday. But we don't want to get too UK about it. But maybe we will. We do get drawn into these things from time to time. Midlife crisis. Bon dia. E espero que o dia il traga boa saúde. So a happy and healthy day, I think. Traga, I'm not sure what that traga means there. Andrea is giving us a wave or a clap or something like that. But either way, gratefully received, Andrea. Bon dia todos from no! And Victoria's here as well. Must be because you're here, Doc. Bon dia alegria. Hola, Doc. And Carl, the mere mention of the man's name brings all the girls to the yard. Hola, bon dia todos from Jacqueline CDM. Doc! Hey, everyone! It's the green screen going to crawl up the wall today. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Very good, Stephen. Good morning, Doc. Good morning, people from Lee McGrady, the head gardener. How are you, Lee, this morning in Lisbon? How you doing, brother? I think that's specifically
awesome.
For Doc. He's awesome, of course he is. Here's one for Doc from our old mate, Dougie, who's got another piece coming out in Portugal News soon, and we'll talk to him again soon about that. Does the Doc think holiday habits are changing due to COVID and climate change? What do you make of that, Doc?
Very interesting question. I think COVID has certainly changed holiday habits and potentially might have changed people's migration habits as well, in terms of having to realise that there might be times when travel at the drop of a hat might be impossible. Climate change. Well, when I started looking for potential places to live, And Portugal, as I said, was always at the top of the list. But I had a note, I still have a note on my bookmarks in my browser that says, look out for climate issues like flooding, particularly.
Yeah.
So, anyone who buys a house by the river at a low altitude is probably asking for trouble. So, yeah, there are all those things. But holiday habits for climate change, I think it's difficult to see how that's settling out, because Britain's had some much hotter weather this summer than in previous years. Not long lasting, but enough for some people to think, well, that's good enough for me for summer. I used to go to the Riviera, and it wasn't as good as that. That's not what I'm saying. That's what they may be saying. So I think it's difficult. I think the jury's out on how climate change might be affecting it.
Remains to be seen, doesn't it? And I said maybe we wouldn't talk about the UK, but it was interesting yesterday that COVID was being used as a reason to charge people for care in their old age because of the impact, the blow dealt by the pandemic economics. Make of that what you will. Let us know what you're thinking about that if you are a UK person or a viewer of that, because it's a prototype for other possible political responses, isn't it, around the world, of course. Talking of politics, Che, T-shirt is being loved by midlife crisis. And I want to ask you, Doc, these days it may well be that a young person has a Kardashian T-shirt on and not a great historical political figure. Do you, or am I wrong? I mean, are there political T-shirts of this time? Do you see around and about the place, or are young people just not bothered?
Well, there were, of course, quite a few Jeremy Corbyn T-shirts being worn 2 or 3 years ago.
Jeremy Corbyn. Right. Yes, those for the people who did that. Yes, of course.
And I suspect there might have been Trump T-shirts in America and Obama T-shirts in America.
Made in China. Yeah.
I'm not sure. And maybe Bernie Grant T-shirts.
Yeah.
So I think there probably are, but we don't see great international political figures these days, like Che Guevara was, of course. And he wasn't just a political figure, but he was a great medical figure as well. He continued to practice as a doctor, and he was Cuba's first health minister.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. And then it's unlikely that we're going to see Boris T-shirts, I suspect, worn around the world in the same iconic way.
Only hung over dartboards.
Oh, or worn by like a Japanese teenager who doesn't quite get it, maybe, these cultural transfers that you see with some swearing on it as well. And they've no idea that it's swearing in English and it's got a picture of the mop-headed prime minister. But not necessarily a political comment, that. It's just interesting, isn't it, how, I don't know, the iconography of these things seems to have changed in our times as well. I don't know what other people think about that. Bon dia from Antonio F. How are you, Antonio? Great to have your company this morning. I will be in the UK in 24 hours. Doesn't look happy about it. 3 crying emojis there. Any advice for coping? So there's a general, I suppose, message going out this morning. I'm moving. You've said that's one of the most stressful things you can do. I've done it rather a lot. And I'm thinking maybe that's rather foolish, especially when I'm in the middle of it. That's when I think it's most foolish. So general stress advice. I mean, he's traveling. Any advice for coping there? And could you broaden that, Doc, to how to take care of oneself when moving house and home?
Yeah, so I'm a great lover of traveling and of being a nomad, but there's a difference when you have a fixed base somewhere and you move that base. So moving house and home means severing many routes, many connections. So even if you used to go off traveling around the world for 3 or 6 months at a time, you knew there was always that network back home when you returned, the network that you could rely upon if you got into trouble or if you ended up coming back early. So there might be the potential for assistance with accommodation, with a job, with a bit of financial assistance if things went tits up, as they say. So when you move home, you sever many of those connections.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why it's quite stressful. In terms of Andy's situation, briefly, my advice would be book your return ticket very quickly, and get some jumpers. But I wouldn't want to be going back to the UK at the moment. But coming back to the original topic that you floated, it's a lot easier for a single person with little baggage to move house physically, and possibly to remake connections in new places or to sever connections in old places. That's my personal experience, having done it both as a family man and as a single person.
Very interesting. And the reason I ask is not just for my own benefit, although I do have that somewhat unhidden agenda here currently. But anybody who's looking to be an expat will face this, won't they? And I totally get that point, Doc. And that's why you're here. That's why we love your insight. When you're a backpacker, you almost know, don't you, that back home there is your room that your parents hopefully haven't let out as soon as you've left the door. It might still have you might still have your Che Guevara poster in the room there, and you can always go back there, right, where your CDs are and all the things that were the comforts of your life, and that's what you're breaking. If you make a permanent move, you are chopping that cord, aren't you? I suppose. Metaphorically. So it is a big deal, and there's perhaps more we can do at Expats Portugal in supporting people in that way. It's a big deal, isn't it? And perhaps shouldn't be underestimated.
It is a big deal, and I think if you're going to be moving, then you need to consider many of the things which I didn't always consider, especially when I moved country, because I tend to be a sort of person, just do it and deal with the problems when they arise. But you need to think about this time round. I had to think about education, formal education, I would say, even though that's something I thought I would never have to worry about again. I had to think about health, because obviously I've got my own health situations now, and for a general safety net for Leona and Alicia. And you have to think about how the money works. Everyone knows how money works, but how banking works, how to transfer money on a regular basis, and all of that stuff. How you get your car taxed. If your car
don't go there, Doc. Oh! I thought we were staying away from that. He's getting worked up, and just breathe. Whenever you think of the IMT, just breathe, Doc.
I've only used the livre de réclamation twice. Once is for IMT, and the other is for Rede Expressos, because their refusal to give the support that they're supposed to give according to regulation.
Oh, I see. Well, this is for accessibility to the coaches.
Not so much accessibility. They said they'll carry my wheelchair, not a problem. But they're supposed to give my accompanying passenger a free ticket if the accompanying passenger is necessary. Now, I'm pretty self-reliant, but most people would say I take risks that are unreasonable. And so, if you go through the argument logically, they ought to provide Leona with that ticket. And when I asked about it, it was a flat refusal. It wasn't a "why is it necessary?" It was just a flat refusal. Even when I quoted the regulation, the person on chat said, "No, not interested. Make a complaint." So I've made.
Oh, okay. And did anything happen?
Well, this was only a couple of days ago, because we were starting to look at doing a few of our journeys by coach, because we're not by nature private car transport people. And the only reason we have a car is because of my physical restrictions. But we want to use it less, both for social reasons and obviously for environmental reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Fair play. Okay. We'll keep in touch. Well, next time you're here, perhaps you'll have a little bit of an update on that. And isn't it interesting? Sometimes, when you complain at a restaurant because the food was so terrible, they give you, a free meal voucher. You think, well, hold on, I don't want to do this again. Right. So let's see what happens there.
We might have a different chef next week. Yes,
I certainly hope so, or at least somebody who can use a microwave. Greetings from Harrogate and Misty today. Amazing what 10 years can do to improve you, just like a good one. This is a very interesting service that Paul might be offering, the before and after. Thank you for that, Paul. That was very interesting to see that you sent to me via WhatsApp. Anybody wanting to do that, 913-590-303, and I'll stick that on the screen in a little while. Did I read right that 98% of eligible people, medical question now in Portugal, have at least one shot? I think he's not talking about vodka or tequila. We're talking about vaccinations. Is it true, Doc, that it's so good here that it's actually now up to about 110% of people?
I did hear that this statistic. I found it unbelievable. I think it might have been before they opened it up to young people, but even so, fantastic statistic if it's true. But I haven't gone behind that headline figure yet to read how it's derived.
It could be one of those PR and survey companies, isn't it, that work for the biggest names in the business, but they just asked 100 people. And they managed to find 98 people who'd been vaccinated that they got invited to the little study group.
Their street researchers positioned themselves at the exit points of the vaccination station.
Cynical so-and-so. What, on the two people who didn't get were actually vaccinated? The two
security guard.
They just brilliant. Matty saying to Andy, only one suggestion: stay in Portugal. Well, he's busking it now. Who's that then? I don't know who he's talking about now. Maybe that's me, I suspect, with my lack of green screen or whatever. Olá, bom dia, alegria. Estou em Lisboa. Hey, Cindy B, fantastic. So in the capital there, wonderful. I'm following in your footsteps soon, actually. Hank, I don't know about that, but 78% of the population already got both jabs, says Antonio. Okay, so maybe the same survey company. We're only kidding everybody. It's been a remarkable effort here in Portugal. That's why we can joke about it, because we feel what a great job's been done. Morning, boys, from Hannah. Where you been, Hannah? I haven't seen you for ages. And isn't it nice that she calls us boys? We'll take that. Top of the morning to you, mates. I mean, I don't feel especially fresh or youthful, but so we're definitely taking a morning, boys, from Hannah. Top of the morning to you, mates, as well, from Bill Ruffing, who may well be an Aussie. Did I see that number in the same article, says Hank, asking about shots? Okay, 98 and 78. Not bad at all. He is amazing. The Doc, that Doc. How do I order a Portugal mug? Oh, okay, over on our website now. It's via Etsy. I'll have to get that on the screen too. See you. And very a go-go. Okay, quick question mark. Is that because she's not sure if she should use the ferry, or is this the UK ferry?
It's the what do you call it? Petition to Brittany Ferries to establish the UK to Portugal ferry, which is doing the rounds, and which I circulated recently.
And do you think it's going to happen, Doc? A lot of people just say that when P&O want a bit of publicity, they just put that out, they roll it out again.
Well, they have said that they're seriously considering it, even though obviously when Spain reopened, they were that they put it on the shelf. But you know, I think there's a real potential, certainly in the summer, for that ferry service. I hope that it would be all year round, although obviously more frequent in the summer. It would be brilliant.
And it's been prompted, hasn't it, to stop having to go through an additional border? Is that right? Is that why people are putting it back on the agenda again?
Well, it's because specifically there were variable rules across the EU for travel both within and from outside the EU. So you could get into one part of the EU, but you couldn't get into another. So you could have come into Portugal but not come into Spain, for example. And then you could have driven across the border anyway. So the whole thing was bonkers mad. But you know, there was this time when you couldn't get into Spain, but you could drive across it and get into France or go out through France. So just mad,
Okay, bonkers mad is an official medical diagnosis there. For the
absolutely. Yeah.
So Emma, you were asking about mugs. I mean, look at this range of apparel here that you can have. The posing briefs, the budgie smugglers are being designed as we speak. We're just not sure where to put the logo on those.
How about the mankini, Carl? Isn't that one in gold lame?
Why, Doc? Why? Why do you have to mention this? Doc, really, I'm moving on and taking Gemini's comment. Good morning, everyone, from Gemini. And when I say coping, I also mean a surge in COVID-19 new cases too. Something to worry about? Or again, is this an angle on statistical analysis designed to prepare people for some shenanigans that the government's up to, do you think?
No, there's definitely an increase in the UK. If you look at the data, there are countries where there are increases happening, like the UK, and there are countries where it's still going down, like Portugal.
All right. So that let's take that as a statistical fact. I mean, that's hard to argue with, isn't it? You know, the numbers are going up or they're going down. I guess there is some leeway for argument in that. But let's say they're going up. Also, you've got to figure out, are they going up to dangerous levels? Because we have been, I think, played with a little bit with some of that sort of stuff. And I know that, in public health, governments have to err on the side of caution. Absolutely right that they would do so. Do you have cause for concern when you see the numbers rising as they are in the UK, for example?
Well, certainly they're nowhere near the peak of last year, but they're certainly, I think they're higher than the first wave in the early part of last year. So yeah, I would be concerned. But of course, there are huge numbers of people who've been vaccinated. So, and these tests include people who have been vaccinated, who have tested positive, but who are getting a considerably less severe form of the disease, even given the Delta variant. So yeah, I'm certainly not blasé about it, and I wouldn't be going to the UK through choice on that background. But I wouldn't be, if I was there, I wouldn't be tearing my hair out either.
Okay. Anna says, bon dia. I think I've got to reframe my view of getting a NIF number. NIF in place after 15 minutes in finances. Just walked in and everything works smooth, even though no one spoke English. Well, that's great, Anna. I'm pleased for you. And it should be like that. I mean, let's face it. The wages are being paid by people getting a NIF number, aren't they? That is the core, the heart of taxation in Portugal. So it makes sense for the Portuguese government to actually even go proactive and maybe set up a booth at the airport or the ferry port and get people. Yeah, straight away. It would make so much sense. And maybe a memo has gone round. Prioritize these NIFers, these new NIFers. Even abroad, I've had both my shots. Quite disappointed didn't turn into a magneto or have free flow G. Okay. We know what you're getting at there. Hank Stelica, September the 5th, we reach 85% of the total population with at least one shot of the vaccine. Thank you, Antonio F., to satisfy Hank's inquiry there. Lee, chilling this morning with a swollen foot. Oh, dear, a nasty little bite. Of what variety? A snake, an ocelot, a ferret? Well, I mean, that would be the ideal pet for Lee, wouldn't it? The classic northern pet. The ferret. So maybe he did get a nasty little bite from the ferret that he keeps up his trouser leg. I am not starting work till 11 a.m. So yeah, he's having a half day by the sound of it. It's most unlikely. So I get to see the show this morning. Thanks, Lee, for tuning in. Get well soon, mate. You maybe need a little bit of ointment rubbed onto that, my friend. I'm not offering, but I would say that's a good thing to do. Or an ice cube at least, or a sliced potato. I hear. Hold on a minute. Can I say this? I hear you. I'm upset, I'm going to say, because that means something different. That means something different in American as well, doesn't it? That I didn't grow Wolverine. Give it time, Hank. It's a bit early. It's a bit early in the research, I think, to be coming to conclusions like that. And a good fisting from Hank as well. I think that's going back quite a long way. My favorite new saying is one I picked up from Leona. Pissed as a fart. I'm going to say it. Okay, so there we go. This is nice. This is happening now. We still haven't got an explanation on doing a solid where that came from. Which health insurance company do you recommend? I would say go with Winsurance. We had Nuno live from the Scout camp yesterday. He uses other underwriters, of course. He's a broker, but Winsurance are our pick for that. Although I did get free 3G. I got cheated there. Okay, so very good. If you ever need a hotspot, just sit next to Frank. To Hank, not, and to Frank. If you sit next to Frank and to Hank, you probably get 4G in some sort of a cumulative effect there. So yeah, and just look it up on your hotspots, and Hank will give you the code so you can tune in via him. Emma, please do not ask about bowels after a hip hop. It's so not funny. Emma, what happened? No, okay, I won't. Gemini, Carl, do you? I'm so sorry to hear that, Emma. I'm feeling your pain, and I'm so sorry I brought it up or out or however you would describe it. Carl, do you have to book an appointment to get your residence permit renewed, or can you visit the office and get it done in the office with the COVID? Asked Gemini. As far as I'm aware, it's still appointments that you need to set up by email, and the upside of that is a lot of things are getting dealt with by email. And once you go into that process, so I would email your local camera and Seth and just start the ball rolling. Make sure you've got the paper trail. You sent what you needed to send at the right time, and the ball is in their court. What would you add to that, Doc?
You're probably right. I mean, I've done everything in person except our initial appointments, and I haven't had much luck with IMT. But by email, or in person, or through the complaints book or anything else. But you know, I'm driving illegally, and I will continue to do so. And I'll show my paper trail when I get pulled over.
And also, and you can use this video as evidence as well if you like. He's outed himself. It's a cry for help. It's actually a video cry for help on YouTube now. Simon Renshaw. Simon, so I know you're Susan. I don't know why I said that. Simon, Susan. Let me start that again. Susan Renshaw. I honestly don't know why. Maybe there's this. My eyes flashed over a Simon somewhere in the comments here. But morning all, happy to be back. That's why I didn't remember, because you've been away for over a month. You so missed the show, and you're probably not going to listen anymore now. I've got your name wrong and confused you for a Simon. But forgive me, Susan, and welcome back. Steve Murphy's in from a rainy Lausanne. What a lovely part of Portugal that is. Amazing. We'll ask Doc where he's been. We've got so many comments, so we must say hello to everybody and amble our way through the comments and find out in a while where Doc has been on his recent adventures. Thunder Duck, we missed you yesterday, and it's a bon dia from Thunder there in Lisbon. Morning, just finished my swim, and hubby reminded me to log into GMP. Well, thank you, hubby, for that. Mr. Burton, thank you very much indeed, and welcome to you, Debbie. Thank you from Francis. Are EHIC still a thing, Doc?
For anyone still in the European Union, yeah. And if you have a UK EHIC, it lasts until it expires. So its expiry date is still good even post Brexit day or date, end of Brexit date, last December 31st. And after the EHIC, you get a GHIC, which is a global health insurance card from the UK, and it will then work in any country they have an agreement with, which I understand they have with Portugal, but you'd have to check that.
Okay, and with that, with the global reach of the UK GHIC, I think it's free paracetamols and enemas on demand at any Australian or American bar, isn't it? You just ask.
Yeah, or Maltese service station.
Excellent. What a brilliant service. Hola, bon dia. Always enjoy Doc on the morning show. Unsurprisingly, schools are back in England and the virus is running amok. Well, that's normal for school return, isn't it? Teachers dread it, and there's always a spike of some sort in the autumn when the kids go back to school. So perhaps there is a COVID aspect to this. Sounds like it from me. And grandson's class has 4 cases in the last 2 days. Lockdown back in October is Ian's prediction there. Can only stay a few minutes. We're going to the aquarium today, and a fine time you will have. It's incredible. The aquarium in Lisbon at the Park of Nations. There's so many things to do around there. Morning, Doc. What do you think about the new? Okay. I'm going to go and make a cup of tea while Doc has a rant about this. What do you think about the new social care reforms?
I saw the headlines. I haven't read them in any detail yet, and that's a bit remiss of me. But I tend to be a little more interested in Portuguese politics in the UK now. Although, of course, my parents are still there, so it does have a lot of concern for me personally as well as politically.
Okay.
And I understand they're talking about charging people for their social care more than they have in the past. And of course, this is a breach of what was supposed to be the social contract, the great post-war. Yeah, you pay this and you'll get that in 20, 30, 40 years' time. And of course, the government are now going to say, fuck off, we're keeping your money. We're not going to care for you and you can die. And of course, COVID is actually going to reduce the amount they have to spend on it because it kills elderly people more. So, in fact, it's even worse than it appears. And why there aren't more elderly people dumping the Tories, why there aren't more people on the streets is only for us to surmise, and why we have a leader of the opposition there who seems to be more interested in smelling Boris Johnson's nether regions than actually kicking them. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we know where you stand on that. It's safe to say. I was going to. If you said you weren't fully abreast of the developments, I was going to do multiple choice for you and say, did Boris Johnson yesterday A, honour his manifesto promise, or B, do a complete U-turn on I think two of them? What would you be? Would you go for A or B?
Oh, definitely B.
And was he A, reducing tax, which is what his party is renowned for, or did he B, raise taxes in an possibly unforeseen gesture of tax raising to pay for something, as you say, that it goes against almost like a promise in the national psyche? A or B?
B. It's already been paid for. The fact that they've squandered the money on overseas military adventurism in a post-imperialist global political arena just means they've stolen your money. If your insurance company said, well, actually, we can't pay for your car repair because we've sent all of our executives off to 6-month holidays in the Caribbean, well, you know what you do. Anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
You're doing that to the government.
Okay, well, and you would like to think, wouldn't you, that my insurance premiums are so high because they're already going for 6 months in the Caribbean, and please pay the claim as well. Now, I suddenly feel the need for some balance here. I don't know why. I don't usually bother, but I want to ask you a question about this, because do you think at the time of that great social contract and this is quite interesting, I think, for the whole world to see, how this was conceived of, the social contract, the care of people that was conceived of in perhaps the 1950s in the UK, that people would be looked after, they would pay their taxes, and they'd have a national health service, and they'd be looked after in their old age. Were there people at that time saying, this is never going to work? The people are going to get older. The costs are going to rise. It doesn't matter how much we put aside and how much we speculate on the futures market, however that might be financially. We're not going to be able to pay for all of this. Did people say that at the time?
Possibly, although I'm not aware of it. However, the fact is that if we were still if the proportion of gross domestic product that was paid in wages had stayed the same, the tax base in the UK would have been much higher, and there would not have been an issue of affordability.
Right.
And the fact is that the proportion of GDP that has gone into the pockets of what I will call in my dinosaur based vocabulary into the pockets of the bosses, that proportion has increased massively, and they tend not to pay as high a proportion of tax because they have great schemes available to them that aren't available to ordinary people. I know because I've been in that bracket and I've been offered them, and so that this is what happens. We have people starving on even though they're working full-time jobs. We have people homeless even though they're working full-time jobs. And that's because the way we are in the UK, a low wage economy.
Okay, and there are some vacancies. Talking of work in the UK, lorry drivers are in need, and de-skilling is what Andy's saying. So there's no reason for people not to have well-paid jobs, is there? But there is a trend that has not supported that. Obviously, we are seeing. And also, what I don't understand, and you know, this is what happens when the doc's here. We talk about politics and economics, what is it you say? If you don't do politics, politics does you, right, Doc? So this is why
absolutely.
You know, we you know, and you're welcome to put your own views in the comments. Obviously, this is an important platform for free expression within the law, and as long as we remain respectful to each other, that's how we roll here. But what I don't understand is on one day it is you know, we have tough decisions to make. You know, the solemn face of the politician who is about to raise tax. And often it is in this world, you know, where the right has been so socialistic in the last 2 years all over the world. And now the solemn face of like, I'm so sorry, you know, we are supposed to be the party of low taxation, but we're going to have to do this to you now. And then on a different day, like in America, it's like, well, let's print some more money. Let's just pump money into the system, because that also is an option. Which is it, Doc? And why are they used in a way that it seems is the wrong case each time?
It's just manipulation. It's cynical manipulation of the national opinion. They look at which way it's going. They look at which way they need to steer the public, and they release things accordingly. They don't care either way. High tax, well, it doesn't matter. If you're earning 4 or 5 million a year, then a few extra tens or even hundreds of thousands of quid ain't going to really affect you. But if you're on the breadline, then it might be the difference between having 10 or 15 meals in a week. But the thing, I'm actually a great fan of inflation on this basis, and only on this basis. Those people who have a large amount of debt will see that level of debt shrink in proportion to their income if there's inflation, and pensioners and those who are on benefits linked to inflation will see their benefits protected. But it's not the solution, because it can't last forever. It can be used as was necessary in certain situations, and I think America was right to do that in this system, within the limits of this system. But the answer is that this system is broken. It cannot survive. It has nowhere else to grow. It has nowhere else to borrow from. And it will have to come to an end. It will have to be replaced.
Let's rebuild it then, right? Rather than see it collapse. And there's a great building metaphor going on in your apartment by the sound of it. Antonio F, the Oceanario or the Aquario Vasco da Gama. I didn't realize there were two. That's interesting. And I think, Thunder's going to Oceanario. Must check out the other one. Sarah say, hey, Sarah, bon dia, dogless bike ride this morning. Well, I'm so glad to hear it. It sounded like you had a pretty scary time yesterday being chased by a dog. Bon dia, I have a question. I have a handicap and can't wear a mask. They don't let me go into the stores. Doing groceries is difficult. They say I should get a doctor's note. How do I get one? Says Jose Ceylan there. I would have thought there is a certification you can carry with you, right, Doc?
Yeah. So at the moment, getting an appointment at our health centre is it's difficult if you want to do anything before 2 months' time. So I understand that. I think it's a shame that Portugal don't recognise visors as a reasonable replacement for masks, as they do in the UK. because of course in the UK, if you had a visor, then it was okay. So I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. I really don't.
Okay, I think Portuguese people might be able to help us with that. Tony OF, can you help Zay with that? Is there a printable? I know a doctor's note obviously would suffice, but you have to go and get that. Is there a self-certification that you can download and use? That would be really helpful, I think, for Zay there. I hope that situation resolves soon. That must be very stressful for you, Zay. Nigel Henry's in from Oxford, 29 degrees yesterday. A balmy one in Oxford there. Another person, I think, struggling with IMT. You'll find Trump T-shirts, I'm sure, going back to iconic T-shirts made in China, obviously, as well. And there might be a few in charity shops if you have such things as well. Brexit was the worst thing to happen to the UK. Give it time, MF. Honestly, no argument from me, says Ian. Johnson has found yet another way to be a proctologist. Okay, that sounds like a medical term that might need unpacking for the rest of us.
Yeah, it's someone who specialises in the rear exit.
Oh my word, that's actually a job.
Yeah.
And why is it called? What's the derivation of proc? Is proc Latin? Is that Latin for back door or something?
Yeah, well, it probably is. I'll have to find it. If you give me a few seconds, I will find it, because that's interesting.
Portugal is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, according to recent assessments. Okay, it's good news this morning then, coming in from Caldash Hills this morning. Fire, flooding, water stress in south and centre, sea level rise, biodiversity loss. Well, there's a cheery thought, but it would appear to be true and something we need to take care of. And we were talking to a permaculturist last night on the Spiritual Portugal show, a remarkable man. Helder Valente was talking to us late last night. I think so much of these answers lie in the beautiful principles of permaculture. The lads talking to each other. Make sure you wear a thick jumper coat and bring a brolly. And Americans are not going to understand that, are they? That's probably a pullover or a sweater and a brolly. What do Americans call a brolly, I wonder? Probably just an umbrella, right? Rain shield. For a while, it feels like I'm going to be a war correspondent. Beers, anyone? It does, all he's doing is going back to the UK, and we're sending him off like it's the last time we're going to see him or something. It's not that bad, Andy. What are the doc's thoughts on daily supplements of vitamins and minerals? I'm taking it, not the red wine, Doc.
I'll go through that very quickly. And first of all, I'll tell you that proctos is Greek. I thought it was Greek for anus. Outstanding.
Oh, but some people are called Proctor, aren't they? That famous teacher, Bob Proctor. Harvey Proctor. Yes. Wow. Okay. Carry on.
So, daily supplements. I would recommend a few, and I take them. So, the first is essential fatty acids. These are what you get in fish. But actually, the fish only have them because they eat the algae that produce them. So you can now get, and it's what I take, obviously, because I'm vegetarian and attempting to be vegan and failing, but that's another story. So you can get algal EFAs, and the reason to take those is that processed foods or foods that have been given preservatives so that they've got longer shelf life, you tend to see a reduction in the essential fatty acids. And the essential fatty acids are very important for brain function and cardiovascular health, among other things. So you should take those. You should take multivitamins and minerals, because unless your vegetables and fruit are grown in total organic methods, using and grown on soil that has never been leached or not had pesticides used, then there was a very good, I think it was Geigy did this study, and it was back in the 70s or 80s. It showed that the levels of the important micronutrients, many vitamins and minerals, were a fraction of what they were pre-war. That's pre-Second World War for the millennials. Then there's vitamin D. If you're not living in a sunny environment. Let me think. What else do I take? I take black seed oil. I believe there's no smoke without fire, and black seed oil has been a traditional remedy and supplement for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. And the last one is...
Doc, was that for your love life? I mean, you're saying there's no smoke without fire. Is this some kind of sexual stimulant, black seed oil? What is that? What does that mean? And why?
Yeah. So Leona says it cures everything except death.
Well, that's rubbish then.
But it's the cold pressed seed oil of black cumin seed.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Curcuminoid. Yeah. Okay.
That's right. And then the last one, I think the last one that I take, apart from what is prescribed, and apart from the red wine, which I think is important, is turmeric.
Yeah.
We use a lot of turmeric in our cooking, but actually we take turmeric supplements as well, or Leona boils fresh turmeric root, and we add that to some of our drinks during the day.
Very good. Leona, when he says we use a lot of that in our cooking, does he mean your cooking, or does he actually do any cooking?
I don't do much cooking. She's just gone into the bathroom, I'm afraid, so she won't hear that. But I will pass the comment on and tell her what my answer was. I'm very honest. I don't do much cooking, but she's a brilliant cook, and I do help. But the problem is that I often have terrible accents. Christmas Day, great point. I stepped up, and I was trying to do a lot of what we were doing. I said, I'll make the bread sauce, because we were going to have bread sauce. So I've always made good bread sauce, I have to say. So, we got the cloves, and you stuck them in the onion and boiled that in the milk and all the rest of it. It was all ready in a container, and put it in the microwave to heat up, because we've made it a little earlier. And as I took it out of the microwave, I dropped it on the floor. The container smashed. Virtually all the bread sauce was unusable and full of pieces of glass. I actually cried. I really did, because I've always loved to cook before my stroke when I had time. And I always used to do the Christmas dinner, apart from any meat that might be needed. And I was so upset. I cook when I can.
That's we just all want to give you a hug hearing that story, Doc, especially on Christmas Day. I mean,
I've recovered it. Leona laughed at me, I have to say.
Oh no! While you were sat there crying as well. What is she like?
I couldn't believe that I was so upset for over a bit of bread sauce. But no, she was comforting afterwards and supportive. But yeah, I mean, I'm a tough bloke. I rarely cry, and it surprised me. And anyway, there we go. Let's move on.
Just to build up, Chef Ramsay would have given you short shrift, wouldn't he? Get out of my kitchen, you whimpering, simpering man, and take your bread sauce with glass.
I can make better bread sauce than he does, I'm sure.
Ooh, let's set that up. Good luck with your move, Carl. Third only to death and divorce with stress. Well, thank you, everybody, for your kind comments, including this one as well. Carl, I don't mean to be rude, mate, but get some sleep. Got more bags than a Tesco checkout.
Gary!
Right, I've got something for you, Gary. Stand by. One of those for you, my friend. Way!
This show is deteriorating.
Yeah, that's right. Stephen and Andy could have some beers to go to the UK. Okay. Oceanario is amazing, says Hank, who's obviously been there. Isn't that great? Great answer from Doc. How does he explain driver shortages in Germany and many other EU territories? Also, Canada and Australia face non-Brexit shortages at the moment. Do you want to address that?
Sure. So lorry drivers have always been reasonably well paid. They're wages in real terms are dropping. It's a stressful existence. There's more social issues that come as a result of lorry driving, which are paid more attention to these days. And there are other better jobs. It's not an attractive thing for people to go for people to be going into when they're making career choices. I used to. I mean, I was brainy, but I used to think I'd love to be a lorry driver driving a cattle train across Australia. This is before I became vegetarian. So that had an attraction. These days, what do you see? You see horrible problems. Even if you're a German lorry driver, if you're having to go to the UK, you see, your lunch being confiscated because it's got meat in it. You have migrants trying to get in the back of your lorry. You have armed gangs holding up your lorry if they think it's got sellable stuff in it. You have bastard police and various emanations of the IMT and their equivalent looking to see if you've gone 1 minute over your limit on your tachograph, and all of this stuff that has just accumulated over the years has made lorry driving a much less attractive career choice. If they want to increase the number of drivers, and actually we should get more freight back on the rail, but if they want to increase the number of drivers, then they need to pay them more. It's a simple, if you're going to live in a free market society, you have to understand how the free market operates. And if there's a shortage of drivers, you have to pay them more. It's simple free market economics. It is not rocket science.
There you go. I bet Doug's glad he's asked. Okay, there you go, Doug. There's the answer from the doc anyway. In an uncompromising mood this morning, as we see. Friends talking to each other. This is the sort of thing they say to each other. I'm going to need to see your PCR test first before we have beer together. You guys have created a new instant family of contacts that help to ease moving. You can choose your friends. That's very true, Ian. That's a nice reframe there. Have you had your lovely swab experience yet? Going back to proctology. Oh, no, different one. Get a Tesla, Andy. Run it on the sun or even the clouds. Tesla. Yeah. We will be talking Teslas tomorrow night on the webinar. So it's another motoring special. ACP are joining us, and we're going to be chatting about Teslas. And Nuno's coming back.
Bit expensive.
Absolutely. A nice second-hand bargain, though. Hola, bon dia, everyone from Elsa. Good morning to you. We will be at our little fruit farm in the Algarve 10 days' time. Then the grind of trying to get our residency, hopefully. First time her indoors will get to stay at her little farm at last. Our 5 Portuguese water dogs only owned it for 2 years. Wow, what a journey. I bet you're looking forward to opening a bottle of Portuguese red or white there and enjoying that whilst the sun goes down and having a breather. Nigel, thank you for that. Goodness only knows which bit he's laughing at. Proctology, possibly. I'm back in Constancia on Monday. You were at the wrong end of the river last weekend, she's saying to me. I'm so looking forward to eating at my favourite restaurants, horse riding and viewing house I so desperately want to buy. Okay, so you weren't there anyway. Okay, another time. We're going to rattle through now. It's after 10, folks. I got my reaming. What's that? I got my reaming yesterday, clear. Funny that considering I'm vaccinated and got white marks on my face from mask wearing. What does that mean? I got my reaming?
He got his test, his swab up the nose.
Okay, good. Michelle, hello, Michelle. Thanks for joining us last night. Bon dia, alegria from Inishvale, Queensland in Australia. Doc, have you heard much about the Novavax vaccine?
No.
Simple no now. Okay, can I ask why the doc retired very early to Portugal? Yeah, you missed that early.
I had a stroke. I couldn't work as a doctor anymore. I tried. I did a few weeks as a librarian assistant just to get back into work. Didn't like it. So I took my NHS pension and came to Portugal.
Okay, very good. And can Doc touch on why you only get one vaccination if you've had COVID previously? Seems to be the only country with this rule, says Catherine Teixeira.
I wasn't aware that was the rule.
Okay, we'll have to leave that hanging there. Okay, why are you moving, Carl? I thought you'd moved house quite recently. That is true. Are you staying in the Caldash area? Possibly. And moving, it didn't work out where we are, but we are in a conscious uncoupling situation, as old what's the name said about that. So it's all good. And yes, very possibly staying in the Caldash area, despite having fallen in love with Castelo de Vida and wanting to move there. And then Abrantes there soon after. I really can't decide where I want to be in Portugal. Maybe that will continue. I don't know. I'd used the ferry to Lisboa. Oh, thank you. Everything all right, Mrs. M?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You came with a rather concerned look on your face just now.
No, I was sending a message.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll read. No, I haven't read it out yet. We'll get to that. We get a lot of comments on this show, and it's sort of 6 minutes past 10 already. Oh, I've got stuff. Oh, I need to pack that, do I? Thank you. All right. 7 days, 5 hours and 30 minutes. Not that I'm counting or anything. Okay, so Pete's on the move possibly as well. Not much room for the logo on the mankini. It didn't go unnoticed, that, Doc. Stop it. Why is Portugal still an amber country? Yeah, Doc, why?
Because Boris Johnson's an idiot.
Okay, simple answer there. Sign the petition, folks, and share the ferry link. Pop that in the comments if you will. Morning, Simon and Fiona. Let's get the word out on that and get a few more signatures because it's a hot country and other countries don't want their citizens to find out. Is that to do with the amber list answer there? COVID-19, winter is coming. Thank you again. Lots of cheery thoughts throughout the comments this morning. Test more and you'll get more cases, says Thunder. That's also true, isn't it? Gold Lamy. Oh, yes, not letting it lie. Hola, Bondi. I don't think I'm going to have to do that thing that I said I would do if they did their thing, though. I'm not going to go elaborate too much on that, but I think I'm safe. I think the whole nation is safe from seeing me on YouTube with Gold Mankini. Hola, bon dia, Doc. Always great to see and hear you. Mask wearing has decreased massively in the UK with regards to the UK Gov. Is that how long the restrictions are going to last? Till 2,980, possibly?
I don't know what that 2980 refers to. Cryptic thing, I'm afraid.
That's when Boris wants to see his tenancy end, I suspect. Will all you vaccine enthusiasts please study the data coming from Israel before lauding the efficacy of the vaccines? Fair play, Max. Thank you for that. Pizza Bleach, you also ordered the Tesla Cybertruck, right? We want to see pictures of that. Yeah, going back to Max there. Absolutely, share links by all means for every angle on the conversation, Max. Of course.
If you hold on, can I just address that a minute?
Yeah,
Israel, they did roll out the vaccine very quickly, and I need to go back and look at what their plan was, what the timing were between doses. But what I do know is, and this is getting very political, is that Palestinians had less access to the vaccine than Israeli citizens, and that included Palestinians who are resident in Israel. So I suspect. I think that the figures were in terms of the high vaccination rates were for Israeli citizens. I may be wrong, and certainly on the West Bank, though, which is de facto part of Israel, there was very, very low access, but they weren't counted in the statistics. So there was a pool of COVID, a potential pool of COVID sitting there, being able to reinfect people.
Yeah. Okay. And also, and we haven't talked about antibody testing, which might be very, very helpful. And I think it's part of some of the more interesting research, isn't it? That people who've recovered are faring better sometimes than people who've been vaccinated, although that might be an apples and oranges argument. I don't know. And too big a thing to go into right now. I'm not shying away from it. I'm very happy to have these, but we're an hour and 10 into our show this morning. And Doc will be back.
That's never been done before, has it, Carl?
Yeah, but I can see us talking till 11 now, and I've got to move house. It's not a good look for me to be, why isn't everything ready? Oh, because I was talking about vaccines on the show this morning with Doc until 2 p.m. So not trying to shut it. Yeah, not trying to shut it down. We will continue. We will. We're here every morning. And, we've got our forum to talk about that, expatsportugal.com/community. Keep it nice and open-minded, everybody, and respectful and legal. And absolutely let the conversation continue. These things of great importance, great health importance, need to be discussed from every angle. Absolutely right, Max, if that is the point you're making. Peter Bleach, just connecting the dots. Luke told me yesterday a friend has ordered the Cybertruck. But it's getting Model S because that's some real geeky Tesla talk going on there among those aficionados. Everyone who is not crazy needs to start insisting on the same simple message, which I suspect is coming up in just a moment. We have to live with corona. It will always be with us. Biannual boosters for the entire population will not solve anything, says Max. They will only reduce the effectiveness of vaccines by encouraging antigenic drift. The vaccines are at best a solution for the elderly and the vulnerable only, in his opinion. Shirley, a happy day to all Portugal people. God is good to you all. Thank you very much, Shirley, for that sentiment. In reference to COVID, I think it's herd immunity they're looking for, and 200 a day deaths was predicted, and 50,000 a day infection rate. Still more to come. Us oldies are just keeping away from places with problems, e.g. pubs and gatherings, which I think for some of you oldies is very difficult, staying away from pubs. So good on you, and all power to your elbows there. Absolutely right. Taking some responsibility for avoiding places of infection. It's a good thing to do, I think, and to balance it up and get the full picture and make your own best decision there. Is it true that Seth have stopped talking to foreign people? I don't think it's quite like that. I don't think that's the reason. It's because they're foreign, they're not talking to them. If that's what you mean, Paul. It's just they're on a restructure and occasionally a go slow. It's difficult, as we found out from your doctor Monday. Take care of your health. It's your wealth. Thank you, Shirley. Healthy diet, exercise, and plenty of sun. Part of the supplementary process, I would say, or just part of everyday life. Well done, Simon and Fiona. I've done it in person, but things have changed. What's that referring to? I wonder. Oh, going into the office, I think. They have changed. Get that paper trail, email them. Eat right, sleep right, and think right. Also, that's a bit more difficult to quantify, that last one, isn't it? Making sure people think right. Every government is working on a department for such things, I'm sure. IMT, irritating, mediocre thing. Oh, a lot of Irishan about this. Carl, correction to my previous message. 1980s Brit Funk group Links met them at a signing at HMV on Oxford Street. That was David Grant, wasn't it? And Sketch on bass. Wrote a song called You're Lying. This comes to my mind every time Boris Johnson opens his mouth about anything. Stay safe. COVID-19 hashtag there. That's me. Luke is awesome. Yeah, he's a great bloke, isn't he? We spoke to him on a webinar a couple of weeks ago. You'll have to watch Off Grid on a Shoestring to see what he made us do. Yeah, great. Subscribe there. Andy via Austin, he's my guest tomorrow, getting plastered later today. Oh, well, the plaster is coming this morning. At last. How long have you been waiting for that? I've seen all their videos. Okay, I'm going to avoid the @ comments. Thank you for doing that. It's going to make it a bit easier. I missed GMP yesterday. We missed you as well. I had a doctor's appointment. What a refreshing experience compared to the States. Considerably cheaper too. Glad to hear that. It's never impossible, says Kate. We had an appointment, arrived on time with all the paperwork, and the officials refused to see us, saying UK and Brexit. Yeah, COVID-19 and Brexit are being used, folks. They're being co-opted for inefficiency and avoidance right now. How very American of the UK. What's that, I wonder? Andy's comments about social care and tax in the UK are accurate. Well said, Andy, says Max. What is a Starmer for? Finish that sentence. Shocked fancy Doc saying governments lie. Yeah, Doc, I mean, you could have prepared us for this news this morning. I mean, that's going to upset a lot of people. That's a wake-up call that we weren't expecting. Doc, you sum it up 100%. Bojo is what you said, a complete and utter proctologist. I need to buy Doc a few dozen drinks and put the world to right. He's open to that, as you can see.
I'll take up that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a date. Johnson raises taxes on the young low earners in jobs to save wealthy elders from having to sell their houses. Okay. There's plenty of money to fulfill the social contract. It's just in hands of fewer and fewer people. There does seem to be a trend there, doesn't there? For sure. Same old, tax the poor to pay the rich. I think we can see the way everyone's leaning here, can't we? Dougie Hughes, talking of the rich, agree, UK wasted loads of money. I'm only messing with you, Doug, on foreign interventions. But this happened thanks to Blair. The NHS is a victim of its own success. People, head shaking has begun. I haven't got to the end of the sentence yet.
Falklands, Korea. Need I go on? I mean, the list is endless.
Yeah, but you can't have a good word to say about the war criminal Blair, can you?
No. But Doug's just having a dig at it's saying it's all the Labour Party, you see.
Okay, all right, okay. The burden lies, I think, with them all, doesn't it? Lorry drivers are poorly paid and have long, erratic working hours. Hence, there's a structural difficulties. What he said before: money printing hits poor people, it leads to inflation, and actually opens up the gap between rich and poor. These are cans of worms again. We've got can of worms syndrome here. Probably a cream for that. Needs a Labour revolution. Oh my goodness!
Into the streets.
With the young primates at the front chanting people's names. Blimey, look at the time already. Doesn't time fly when you're watching GMP? It certainly does, and when you're presenting it. Aquario Vasco da Gama is in Algiers and was opened by one of our kings, if I'm not mistaken, Don Carlos I. Thank you, Elra. John Gibson's in, checking in from the USA. We sold the farm yesterday. It's getting real to start shopping in Portugal, start home shopping in Portugal. Stay tuned, Jim. We'll help you all we can with that. Doc, you're referring to wage inflation in the absence of goods prices inflation. Possible, but unusual, as one usually follows the other. But current conditions are fairly unique. Carl, can I wash your trousers? Yes. It can be put out on the line and dry by one. All others are packed away. It's your only hope, young Jedi, to get my trousers washed. Well, therein lies a bit of a realization for people that I might be sat here not in those. I did see some Zoom, a fantastic Zoom reel of things that go wrong on Zoom calls. And so many people didn't have trousers on. That's what's going on.
That's why you came off screen for 10 seconds about a quarter of an hour ago.
I was going to change into the gold mankini. But I don't want to peak too soon. The word yes, can you imagine if that's the only thing left in my wardrobe because everything else is packed and I have to move in a gold lame lamb?
Do it.
The word proctology is derived from the Greek. Thank you, meaning hind parts. Hours of fun with that. Thank you very much. We didn't find out what doing a solid was, but it could be in the realm of proctology, couldn't it? Antonio, regarding the legal non-use of masks inside shops, the only chance is to have a medical document. Thank you, Antonio F, as you say earlier on, and there is the directive that you will need. You say, sorry, that's not more easy. And for that, you say, must go to a doctor. Got to go to the doctor. So yeah, go to your centre sold for that. My tip is ginger capsules to stop you getting colds and flu as well. Bit of ginger in there, fantastic. Everyone should have a bit of ginger in their life. Hey, Mrs. M, agree. Need more containers on rail. Another good answer from the doc. Jose Ferreira. Good morning, everyone. Always a pleasure to watch your show. Hello, mate. Great to have you here. HGV drivers are one of the most regulated and restricted jobs you can have. What you are moving about, you have to be responsible for people, dangerous goods, etc., and you have to spend loads of time away from home, which is why the divorce rate is so. Oh my goodness! Andy, let the owner know the wine was awesome, and we have a bottle of Martinez finest on reserve for when we return. Look at this, the lifestyles of the rich and famous here on Good Morning Portugal. Any views on an intranasal vaccine? It's been tested on animals so far. So, Jacqueline CDM, anything for the one up the hooter there, Doc?
It's just another way of delivery, and you'd have to see what the in vivo results were. In other words, the human trials.
Okay, all right, Antonio F. Just one vaccine dose applied in Portugal to people that got C19 previously might be related to the fact that the person already had some immunity and the jab is just a boost. Okay, thanks, Antonio. I may be going too far off topic here. It's not like us at all, that Nelson. How very dare you? If I am, I apologize. But did you say AAAP? I have just bought a property. We did actually before we got horribly distracted. We just bought a property unseen except for pics. I hear about bad builders. How do I avoid them? Word of mouth recommendation and contracts. Really, Nelson, you do. I mean, you can understand why you've done that, and more people are. But if you have to compensate for the fact that you haven't seen it with a good surveyor. Talk to Thomas Malloy, Rehabilitatio, in our business directory. Surveying, word of mouth, and contracts. You've got to make up for the fact that you can't see what you're doing there. You're doing it remotely, right? See the place for yourself. Speak to the neighbors, says Antonio. I'm going to avoid the ats, but you do those for yourself. In the US, across the country, 95% of hospitalized are unvaccinated. There's your efficacy, says Hank at Camera Junta. I'm not sure what that's about. Thanks for the show. Loved it, says Michelle. Enjoy the candor, Doc. Yes, he's nothing if not plain speaking, this man here. And that's why we love to have him second and fourth Wednesdays. Great show, guys. Nice to see you all. Nothing but love to everyone. Have a great Wednesday. Cheers, Hank. It feels like we're winding down towards the conclusion of today's show. We will go to a final thought from Doc. I wonder what it's going to be. Hi, Antonio. Thanks for the reply. I have a great lawyer that took care of all of that for me. Now I need some work. Quite a lot carried out. I think you need a surveyor. Carl, as usual, you're spot on. Your comments on COVID and antibody testing, totally true. Thank you very much, Max. Bondi, everyone. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Doc, from David Dawson. Thanks for tuning in last night as well, David. The embassy are on the case with Seth. Okay, that's good to know. So the British embassy are giving a stiff talking to. Can you imagine what that looks like? That might be over G&Ts, mightn't it? And I hope the ambassador takes his ceremonial sword with him for added effect.
Yeah.
I would.
Yes.
Wouldn't you, Doc? If you've got a ceremonial sword, some meetings
Full-
you need to take
full dress uniform and ceremonial sword.
Yes, okay. Show the blighters you mean business. We can't move over for a few years yet retirement, but in the meantime, want to spend as much time as possible over there, but that can't stop properly until I can arrange some renovations. Have a shout out on the forum, Nelson. You will get help here from other expats if you do that. Okay, there's the petition. Sign it. How about people check the European Union's database of adverse drug reactions, then make an informed decision on vaccines and their dangers? Yep, excellent. Every angle counts. Blair needs some. All right, easy. More than 23,000 reported deaths from vaccine on the official site there. We should know. Yeah, as I say, we should know about every angle. Thank you, Colin, Doc. Have a great day. Andrea, yes, a good point, says Max. Doing a solid. Something to do. No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. For a proctologist, yes. For an American, you did me a solid. I love the phrase. It's a good term. Rail was built initially for freight traffic. Funny that, isn't it? Actually, the autobahns were a pre-war. Where are we going with this? They don't like it up. Don't panic, Mr. Mandarin. Thought you were meant uncoupling from Mrs. M when you... No! Oh my goodness! No! In our living arrangement, some of you know, some of you are aware of the situation. Yes, conscious uncoupling in our community here. Okay, Doc, over to you for a pithy comment or a pissy one. It's up to you.
My head's spinning a bit. We've visited a lot of different areas. So all I'm going to say is I enjoy these Wednesdays tremendously. You kindly offered to reduce my frequency of appearance, thinking that it might be getting too much for me. But you know what? I would do this even from my hospital bed if I happen to end up in one. I love these shows. I love the questions. I love the fact that it's totally unscripted, and I cope with most, I think, and some of them, well, I'm going to get the answers wrong occasionally, but there we go.
Okay, so so many bombshells there, I have to say, as we finish. Here's a nice picture of the Azorish as well. Let's get really random now. Thank you, Philomena, for that. Isn't that beautiful? The Philomena Azorish documentary is coming up. But if I can just summarize the three bombshells this morning, that people are going to need probably counseling to cope with this. We discovered that governments sometimes lie. Doc, what were you thinking? And then you say the show is unscripted, and that is another shattered illusion for some people who imagine that you and I were practicing this last night, and we go off script a little bit. But you say there's no script at all. Another bombshell here on the Good Morning. Unbelievable! What are you doing to people? And the third highlight for today is we found out what a proctologist was, and procto in Greek, everybody, is hind parts or anus, as I prefer to pronounce it. Andy, the Doc Thomson, you legend. Have a great time until we see you next in 2 weeks' time.
You too, comrade. Bye, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.